And now a message from our sponsor.
As a parent, you can see it. Your athlete has talent. They work hard. But one mistake can spiral into frustration, doubt, or shutting down completely. This is Jeff Lerg, host of this very podcast. Many young athletes are never taught how to handle pressure, failure, or expectations. Yet we expect them to perform in high-stress environments every weekend. That's why we created the Dialed and Driven Success Formula. It's a guided mentality program that helps athletes build confidence, emotional control, and personal responsibility. Skills that matter far beyond sports. This isn't about pumping kids up. It's about giving them tools they can use in competition, in school, and in life. If you want to help your athlete develop real mental strength, not just short-term motivation, visit dialedandrivenmentality.com to learn more. Strong athletes are built physically. Resilient athletes are built mentally.
Welcome again to another episode of the Dialed and Driven Hockey Mentality Podcast. My name is Chris Palmer, mental performance coach for athletes in hockey and beyond in North America and Europe. I'm sitting across from Jeff Lerg, former professional hockey player, and I'm here with Natalie Ferenc, former D1 star hockey player. Today, like all days, we're here trying to give you something that's useful. And we're going to talk about something that we really couldn't cover enough in the first episode, and it's the idea of the good and bad of chaos. Chaos is one of the things you can rely on. Anything can happen anytime. And we're going to go into this in a different way. But before we do that, we're going to go to your questions. Natalie?
Yeah, let's get started on our questions. So I'm Natalie Ferenc, and I'm also the producer of this podcast. And every episode, you listeners write in questions for me to ask our two hosts, Jeff and Chris. So our first question reads, what is the craziest story you can tell us from your athletic careers?
Wow, interesting.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Could have given these before. It'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, obviously, a lot of crazy memories, a lot of good memories playing as a goaltender. But I will say getting into minor league hockey after 4 years at college was like a whole new life. You know, specifically with the level that I played, which was the AA pro level. You know, I did get invited to NHL training camp. Tore my ACL, my second ACL tear in 2 months, my second ACL tear in 7 months, right before I was going to go to this NHL training camp. So I never made it. But the reasons that is relevant is because eventually, once I got myself healthy after my 2 ACLs, I finally started to play my first year pro. So I kind of sat out my first year, and then eventually my second year was my first year playing. So I finally got myself healthy. I got called up from this AA pro level, the ECHL, up to the American Hockey League, so the AAA pro level. And so I was called up from Trenton, New Jersey into Albany, New York. So this is the crazy story. Here's the answer. So I'm called up. I sat on the bench for a few games on the weekend. I knew it was a short-term stint. The goalie was injured at one of the levels, so they call up the next guy up. So I get up there feeling good about myself, finally playing some games pro, finally getting a little taste of what the level is like that I want to be at, and then that I was hoping to get to. And so I got into the coach's office after the practice on the Monday. So we played on the weekend. I practiced with the team on Monday. And he says, hey, you know what? So-and-so is healthy. You're getting sent back down to Trenton. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Here's your train ticket. So I'm like, okay. I didn't take a train here, but okay. So they ended up getting me a ride with a player who also went up. So on the way back, I needed to find a different route. So here's your train ticket. You know, coach will take you to the train station, blah, blah, blah. You'll get back to Trenton. So then I get connected with the Trenton coach, my team. And he's like, yeah, we're leaving for Toledo tonight on an overnight road trip. So I'm like, okay. I'm in Albany, New York. The team I'm going to is going to be in Toledo, Ohio tomorrow morning, or, leaving there to get there tomorrow morning. But they could have maybe just flown me. But okay, they give me a train ticket. So I go take this train from Albany, New York, through Grand Central Station, New York City, the busiest train station in the world. I have 2 hockey bags, a backpack, hockey sticks, an overnight bag. And I'm like, I had to do a transfer in Central Station. So I was on one level. I had to go through stairs, go through a barrage of people to get to the next train. to get into Trenton. So I get it finally, get my way into Trenton, carrying my gear. Coach takes me right from the train station right to the bus for an overnight trip. So now I'm chucking my bags back in the bus, sleeping overnight, 13 hours, wake up in Toledo. Usually those practices are a little bit sleepy. Not everyone sleeps great on the overnight bus, but you got to get a practice in because we're not playing that night. We're playing the next night. But the worst part of the story is then we go and practice. Not everyone's too sharp. 2 people shoot the puck at the same time, and I'm a competitor, so I wanted to make 2 saves in 1 second. I did, but then one of them hit the inside of my thumb, completely blew up my thumb, broke my thumb. I'm out another 10 weeks.
Jeez.
So that was a very long answer. But
Wait, so you broke? Let me get this straight.
It is nuts.
You were out with your ACL, and then you
Plural.
got ACLs, plural. Then you went to Albany, not playing a game,
sat on the bench.
right?
Hold on. Sorry. The other thing before this, during that weekend, actually, I was sitting on the bench, like a backup, just like my eye is now, bruised. The puck hit off the glass, like I was sitting on the bench, off the glass, and then hit my same eye right here. Like, so during that time backing up, I got smoked off the glass, hit me in the eye, and it was my best friend, Eric Condra. He was playing on the other team, skates by the bench. Hey, first American Hockey League save. Good job, Lergy. So he smoked me in the eye off with a puck. Then I got sent down, and
So you never played a game?
never played a minute that weekend.
Plenty of drive time.
Plenty of drive, plenty of train time.
Crazy.
I had my whole family.
I'm crying.
Well, I had my whole family actually coming from Detroit area down to Toledo too. They're going to come see me play my first pro game because I was finally healthy. So it was the perfect storm of just not good things happening to me. But yeah, like the whole train, carrying my gear through Grand Central Station, like lugging all this by myself. It was just like, what am I doing in minor league pro hockey?
Yeah.
It's a perfect story, though, for what we're talking about, because talk about chaos, right? Anything, anytime. On my side, I have to tell the truth. I'm so happy there wasn't social media when I was in college. I'm so happy that there weren't cameras everywhere, because the things I've done, I'm never going to say on this podcast, and I didn't do anything terrible, but it's terrible enough and embarrassing enough. I was an idiot. Honestly, your brain's not fully formed till 25, and I'll take that as my defense. But really, the craziest thing I had happened in southern Mississippi for conference in college. And cross country, 10,000 meters, they decided to run it at noontime, okay, which is just insane. And in the south, in the fall, it's so hot, 90 degrees, midday, full sun. It was rainy all that week. And they had this big giant field that they never use, but they put a tractor in. Sometimes there's 5-6 foot tall grasses everywhere. And they cut this pathway maybe 25 feet wide for 3.5 miles. And they did 2 loops out here. You can imagine all that water that was sitting down there and how it might steam up. It steamed up so bad. It was absolutely 100% humidity, but with all the sun and all the heat, and you're kind of walled in because you got this 5-6 feet of just wild grasses on both sides. It was brutal. It was the most brutal race I ever had. And we all just kind of survived it. But at the end, honestly, you would never think this. These are all young guys. A guy died. He freaking died. I'm not kidding you. We're all used to running 90 miles a week, okay? This wasn't a health problem. It was just insane to run in those conditions. And I don't know who put it on, but whoever did it, they clearly had never run a day in their lives. It was torture. You would never do that to a human being.
Wow.
The guy died. I couldn't believe it. I actually saw him on the side, people doing CPR, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, really? It's the first time I ever saw it, ever. It's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy, because I know nowadays in the NCAA for outdoor sports, they have rules that you can't either be in the cold. It's like if it's below 20 or the wind chill's below 0 or something like that, cannot be outside for more than, I think, 15 minutes. And there's got to be a heat something.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that happened. Wow.
Yeah, but I think it's also the evolution of sport too. Because like in the 70s, before I ever ran, guys were eating salt pills, like eating salt pills to go on these runs. And I know salt's useful, but a big salt pill with I don't know how many grams of salt you're taking in,
Jeez.
I'm surprised people didn't go down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Crazy.
Different time.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, I hope that answered the question. Those are 2 crazy stories. So
Yeah.
there was our question. So this week on our Dialed In Athlete portion, I'm passionate about this portion because I thought of it. I'm going to take both of them. And I'm going to go right back to the Olympics that are going on right now. And I love the storylines of people who just kind of grinded their way and put years and years and years and dedicated their life and then finally have this reward. I've talked about this before. Like I love comparing it to like the musician who's playing in dive bars for years and then eventually, makes their way into the big stage. I have that same comparison for these athletes. So there's two of them that are similar. They're older, competitive-wise, meaning athletic age, not real age, but 41-year-old U.S. bobsledder Elena Myers-Taylor. Have you heard of her or no?
Nope.
Okay. I had not either, but I was watching the Olympics, and I became a big fan. So this is her 5th Olympic Games. 5th.
In the bobsled?
Yes.
For winter? Yeah, winter
Isn't that
Olympics.
amazing? 5 times going to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Crazy.
She was like a U.S. College softball player and then turned into bobsledding. So in bobsledding, so I've learned you can be on the team, the 4-man bobsled or 2-man or the monobob. Okay. So I was watching the monobob just solo, you by yourself.
That's so
She
scary.
never won a gold medal. So 5th Olympics, never won a gold medal. As she got older, of course, had a family, had 2 kids. Both the kids are deaf. So she's had years of trying to.
I have heard of her. Okay, keep going.
Hey, you smile because she's very likable, very likable. So I was watching her race. They kind of show her story and battled through her family life and growing older and trying to balance the training. And she had many moments of doubt and saying, I'm never going to do it, can't do it. So I watched her winning race. And if you could see like the pure joy of life and jubilation, it was like something I've never seen. It was just like years and years and years of sacrifice all coming to this amazing moment for her. So I became a big fan of her because not only because of her story, but also just you can just like so many years of putting your time and effort and energy in. And it was like her last hurrah. 41. This is her last race. All the other events were done. It's now time to go into it. So she got her gold there. And then the other older competitor was an Italian skier, the alpine skier Federica Brignoni. Did you hear of her?
Maybe when you start talking
Okay,
again.
I'll give you the details. So she is also dialed. She is 35 years old. She's actually from Milan area, so kind of close-ish to where she was skiing in Cortina. But she, in April, she was always a world-class skier, but in April, she had a really severe leg injury, which I think was a multiple fracture to her leg. And there was skeptics would say maybe she was going to be retiring, like she had like severe pain. So she started out her Olympics like kind of just waiting to ramp up for the giant slalom, the longer slalom races. And she wasn't really pegged to win it. It was just like, hey, I hope she can compete. And she ended up winning 2 gold medals. And those were her first ever gold medals, the 2 different alpine skiing races. So she was kind of hopeful to maybe just get there and compete in her homeland. And then she was interviewed and talked about, what was the pain like? And she was like, honestly, I would give back these gold medals not to have that pain. That's how excruciating her pain was while skiing. But she just completely mentally blocked out all the physical pain and was like the hometown hero.
Wow.
So super cool. Both of them big emotional pulls for me just to see those older athletes that like put years and years and years of dedication, and then both were rewarded with a gold medal to finish their careers.
Beautiful.
I mean, I think that's the story, right? I mean, I talked to you a long time ago about Ron Howard, famous Hollywood director. He talks about people argue there's 5 stories in movies, but in reality, he thinks there's one, and it's the story of overcoming. Tell me both of those aren't about overcoming. I mean, those are people who look like it shouldn't be able to work, and somehow it does. And I think it gives everybody hope. It's so easy to get bashed in the head by the things that don't work in life, but there's an example of people doing this thing and overcoming, and it's what everybody wants. Every kid wants to be great. Every person who's banged their head somewhere wants to overcome. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's incredible because bobsled and the slalom skiing are absolutely no joke. I know I watched a video of Jason Kelsey in the 4-man bobsled, and he was like, I will never ever do it again. I thought it was going to be just like going down a roller coaster, and he said it was the most terrified I've ever felt in my life, and it put in a lot of perspective into what the bobsledders do to train. It's so crazy.
Oh, those people are nuts.
Yeah,
how fast they go. Yeah,
rubbing on steel and yeah.
It's amazing. No, I love I think that Ron Howard had it right. I love any storyline where it's an overcoming. It really gets me just from the athlete perspective, because I felt that I always put so much time and energy and effort in, and that feeling of finally overcoming and having that feeling of success. There's really nothing else like it. Tons of stories. I don't know, what else have you seen, Chris, from this perspective, and maybe something that ties into what your day-to-day life is like with our current athletes this time of year?
Well, I want to tell you about that, but before that, I'm going to try not to ruin the mic sound here, but I imagine skeleton, all these things, as just this. Like the whole time. I mean, I really imagine that's what it is, because the first time you do it, there's no way you're doing it for 100 yards. Like, you're doing it. There's no hey, let's practice this. I mean, do they put weights on it so you don't go down so fast? It's insane. Like, who came up with that? Like, literally, it's like the coffin of death. Like, if you're done, they just put the whole thing in the ground. It really seems really scary. It does.
No, it is scary. Yeah, bobsled, skeleton, and what's the other one? Luge? Yeah. I don't even know, but they're all like 80 miles per hour on ice, no brakes pretty much. And it's a free-for-all. It's terrifying. I would never do that. And it makes sense that I don't want to say it makes sense, but there's virtually no places in the U.S. to learn how to bobsled or skeleton. There's, I think, one track in Michigan, and I think one in Lake Placid, and one in out west somewhere. So it's crazy that these people just get so dialed in these sports, and there's nowhere to really learn it in the U.S. But besides the point, and getting away from our dialed-in athletes, I brought up Ilya Malinin. He is a U.S. figure skater a few episodes ago, or maybe last episode, and he was projected to win the gold medal in figure skating. I know he helped his team win gold for the U.S. in the team event, but for his solo performance, he got 8th place, I believe. And he fell and did end up saying in the media that he was not mentally in it. Chris, would you like to piggyback off that?
Yeah. Well, what's so cool is he really didn't know what went wrong at first. And it's so cool, this kind of evolution of his awareness, because we don't talk about this stuff a lot. People don't sit around going, well, how's your mental game right now? You talk about performing. And of course, there's kind of a stigma, right? Everybody wants to just be performing and act like they're good. And there's guys who make me sign non-disclosure agreements because they don't want anybody knowing they're talking about this kind of stuff. But he was so open. First you see him fall, then you see him kind of fall apart, and then you see him in the interview and he's like, I don't know what happened. I mean, it had to be mental. And then this evolved over the days of people just grilling him. What do you think? What do you think? Poor guy, just getting kicked in the face. But he had so much composure. And over time, he realized that he had gone into this feeling maybe too confident. But then there was another iteration of this kind of self-awareness where he said, I really think it's just way more pressure than I ever thought. Just the social involvement alone of all these people wanting a piece of you. And he was the guy who's going to win it all. So, of course, they're all on him, right? You got NBC Sports talking to you. You've got podcasts calling you. You've got, morning news, everybody. And it's this relentless booking of thing after thing after thing. And just imagine you're there trying to do this big thing. And you're young. I mean, honestly, everybody's brain forms till they're 25, right? So he's not even fully formed, and he's trying to do this big, giant thing, and all the pressure in the world. And he just realized that's where he was. And now he's to the point where he wants to enjoy the time he has left. He wants to enjoy things. He even talked about this it's kind of this adorable thing. He's got cats. And he talked about how he wants to go to a cat cafe, and how his cats are kind of like his emotional support animals. Think of that. You've just gone to be at the top of the food chain. The gold medal guy, the guy who's doing backflips on the ice that were illegal because they're so dangerous, quad axles, all these just things that aren't normally done. And you're amazing, and you're just making everybody look incredible. You're making your performances so incredible that the world just notices. And then you go from that to falling, and I don't know what's going on, and then I think it's this, and then I know it's that, and then you're at peace, and I want to enjoy the time, and then you're like, hey, I want to go see my cats. It's human, right? It's such a human story.
Well, regardless of the cats, I will say that the moral of the story, just when you look at, just so many storylines in the Olympics, is anything can happen at any time. Sports is so unpredictable, and one of the best story that I want to bring up again in terms of how an athlete adapted to that, just the unpredictability of sports, was Michaela Schifrin, alpine skier, U.S. longtime alpine skier, I think the winningest alpine skier in history. Coincidentally, a few weeks ago in our Dialed In newsletter, I used her as my Dialed In Athlete of the Week. And I mentioned her storyline of she had a pretty severe injury in 2024. And the reason she was my Dialed In Athlete is that she talked about how you're not going to erase the fear of getting back on the track and thinking that you're not going to get injured again. It's more that you have to acknowledge it, accept it, and then find what works for you to kind of just be in the zone for when it's competition time. So that was a couple weeks ago. I kind of mentioned this story in the newsletter. And then recently now she just won her gold medal in the slalom. And if you haven't seen her being interviewed, I think she's maybe the best athlete I've ever seen interviewed because she speaks in such detail and eloquently gets her message and point across. And coincidentally, many of her points are all about how her mentality drives her to success. So, for example, the reason I bring it up on always being prepared for chaos and the unpredictability is she's the final skier in this slalom ski. Okay, when you finish first in the first round, you go last in the final round. And so she's in first place going into it. She previously in the 2022 Olympics did not medal at all. She kind of had a bad Olympics. Then she had this severe injury in 2024. Her dad died over, I don't want to mess up the timeline, but her dad passed away and some timeline within there. So she kind of had a public story of, the great Michaela Schifrin has hit adversity. So anyways, it's almost her turn to race. And the two skiers before her, the people in third and second, both hit one of the
gates.
Hit one of the gates and, had to ski out. So the person in front of her, the second place person, actually hit the very first gate. And so normally for a skier, you don't see the other competitor that closely, right? So she referenced in her interview, like, well, what happened when so-and-so skied out? She said, well, first I knew I had to prepare myself. I was going to see them. And then I had to get my mind wrapped back around like, okay, no, I feel really bad for them. I want to give them a hug, but just take care of the first gate. Like go through the course again in your head and take care of the first gate. So amazing just to kind of recollect her thoughts. And then she just went down and nailed it and then won the gold. So
so great about that. I mean, people listening at home, in your sports, if you're a parent taking care of your kids, whatever it is, or you're in hockey, wherever it is, you're going after this thing, but there's this stuff that's in your head all the time. You're still a human. You're still part of a family. You have friends. You have all these things going on in your life. Oh, I got an A on a test. I got an F on a test. Oh my gosh, I have an assignment. Whatever the things are, my dad's in the hospital. These things are always in your head. And every one of us, we're never just purely dialed in. There's always this other stuff going on. And she just said all that. She said, oh, I saw this happen. Oh my gosh, this happened. And I care about these other skiers and I hope it's all right. And then I love I want to give her a hug, but I got to get past that first gate. And isn't that the battle? It's the battle for everybody. It's this battle in your head all the time between doing this thing you care about and all the normal human things that you have all the time. And the people who can find a way to compartmentalize and stay in that lane, they have the best chance. But nobody does it perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's so much chaos going around, especially in the Olympics and these high competitive athletes that they are. And I mean, they have real lives outside of this too. Not only do they have to be so dialed in when they are about to go compete, but I mean, these people left their jobs, they left their families, they left their friends, and their sport most of the time is not their full-time thing. Like people are dentists, baristas, doctors. I saw someone was a tour guide. Like they literally have full commitments outside of this, and just managing the chaos is such an important thing. And it's not an easy thing to do at all.
No, I was thinking that as well, hearing a lot of these stories that come out. Like we're around youth athletes and teenage athletes that sometimes can't find the time to get their training done or get their school work done because they're so busy with their schedules. And it's like, guys and girls, look at these Olympians. Like they have a full life outside of their training life, yet they're still one of the best athletes in the world. So Super good point. That's why I think we're spoiled with the topics that we bring up over our podcast to have these amazing Winter Olympics, because there's just so many topics we can bring up. And we've been able to really just learn more about all these amazing athletes in the world that we really wouldn't spend a ton of time seeing, but we're kind of treated over these 2 weeks.
Let me bring this into hockey again. About bunch of people in hockey listening right now. Think about your life where you are right now. You're at some level trying to get to some other level or trying to stay at the level that you're at. And so many people from youth hockey, they go up a level. They go into maybe as high as tier 1. And in tier 1, sometimes that means leaving your hometown. It means going somewhere else. It means billeting somewhere. In juniors, it's for sure billeting. The majority of people who do juniors, they're billeting at a different house. It's a giant thing. But even if you move with one parent, and a lot of people do that, it's so hard. Like even at the academy, where we've got ton of kids who are out there, and they're all living here, and over months it's a lot, because you're still a person who has friends back home, has maybe a girlfriend back home, a boyfriend back home, a dog back home, and yeah, you're there at Christmas, you're here from time to time, but it's a big commitment. So it is incredible how you can never take the human out of the athlete. And the more you can find a way to talk through the things you feel and get them off your chest with people you trust, or at least acknowledge them, then you have a chance to kind of put it in balance. But in the end, we're humans, and we miss the people we love and care about. And sometimes in trying to get to the highest levels, the amount of sacrifice is unreal, whether it's a couple cats you left back home or your best friends.
I want to add something. Jeff, when you explained your crazy story, when you were able to come back and play, how did you play in your first game back after your ACLs and broken thumb?
Great question. I did. Being a goalie needs a ton of timing, right? Like my game needed a little bit to be extremely sharp, but I did play well because I kind of made up all these new drills during my downtime skating, and then I kind of applied a lot of them into our goalie school. It was like, 'cause I couldn't get hit in the thumb, and then I had to wear like a thumb protection piece. So I made up all these little quickness drills that I would kind of put myself through and have my teammates put me through. But I think that I was just so hungry for finally playing again. Like I was just so sick of being up in the press box for now. It was accumulating almost 2 years of playing time. So anyways, that was a battle though. Like there was a big piece of that adversity that I'd never experienced before. And so that was a whole nother part of development, and you need a little bit of success to keep believing. We talk about that a lot. My team was already out of playoff contention at that time. Then the rest of the team kind of packed it in, and I was like, I'm so excited to play. And they're like, I can't wait for the year to be over, so, but it was okay. I found my little internal drive and did what I could. And that's kind of what our message is today. But yeah, anyone who looks me up during my first couple of years out of college, you'll see my stats weren't the normal Jeff Lerg-esque, because I was working my way back into my prime form. Yeah.
And before we close out, I'd love to talk about one more guy. His name's Ollie. And Ollie, it's interesting. His name's Ollie because, Ollie's a thing you do on a skateboard, right? And that's his name. I wonder if his parents were skateboard people. I don't know. But he had a broken arm. And I know it was in the healing process and pretty good, but if he went down, it would be really bad. So just think about that for a second. You've got this limb that isn't quite right, okay? And you're not just, showing up to work one day. You're showing up and you're not only doing flips at high speed on your snowboard, but you're doing backflips that turn into twists and all these movements that look insane. And you watch the play-by-play, and the guys who are experts, they're calling it as happening because they're 1, 2, 3, 3.5. And I'm like, I don't even see it. It's happening so fast. It's so complicated and ridiculous. It's a lot like what the gymnasts do when they come at 1,000 miles an hour and they jump off the vault and they push off the pommel horse and do this stuff. But they're doing it, snowboarding at much faster speeds. And this guy, he kept doing these things. It was just like thing after thing. And I'm just thinking in my head, how could I possibly concentrate knowing that if I goof this up, this thing's going to snap into the letter L or a Z. And it's like, I don't want that to happen. But somehow he managed that. But this is that big thing. And I want to keep saying this because I swear the truth of the universe, if you want to not be so freaked out when things go bad, expect for things to go bad. They're going to. There's going to be chaos all the time. It's actually exactly what the universe is. And that's why that movie years ago, Any Given Sunday, the idea that you can put two pro teams together and anything can happen. Because the truth is, in the bigger picture, and I think the reason why we're drawn to sports is because truly we realize that at any moment, anything can happen. But if you really, really embrace that idea, then the chaos is not only just the awful stuff of, oh my gosh, I got this thing, I hope I don't break it again as I'm flipping like a crazy man up in the air. But you also embrace the idea that any bad thing that happens, that's normal. And the chaos also delivers incredible things, whether it's a best friend you meet out of nowhere, a sport you run into for the first time in your life you never even thought you'd be good at. life has amazing things that just come out of nowhere. So it's awful and it's amazing. And that's really the point I want to bring down, because at this whole thing we're trying to make life less chaotic for you. We're trying to give you something where you can see that everybody goes through this. It doesn't matter if you're a gold medal person or if you're a person who's in the Olympics for the first time just hoping to make something work. Everybody has to manage this head full of distractions and a life full of things that are so mysterious and surprising. Don't be so surprised. The bad stuff's going to happen and the good stuff's just around the corner. And I'm not trying to put a happy face on it like, hey, just look at the good stuff. Look at the bad stuff. But the good stuff's coming. Just stay in the game.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, Chris, Ollie Martin, he's a big air snowboarder, and I can imagine that he used that broken arm to kind of fuel the success that he had, because, I mean, he's still in high school. He's 17 years old and was competing with people way older than him in the big air snowboarding. Ended up getting fourth, but, I mean, he was on the podium for a long, long time because he went pretty early in the second round or third round of that competition. But yeah, he was another amazing story, and I'm happy that you brought him up.
And yeah, really, for me, I've never been more convinced with how important the mentality is in sports. Like, we've done this for a year with the thought of like, yeah, you know what, Natalie, you had athletic success because you're such a great, strong mentality. Jeff, you as well. Chris, obviously a 2-time All-American runner. Like, we all had athletic success because we knew there was some internal drive or mentality that drove us. But I mean, just watching these athletes in all these different sports, all the different realms of life, all the amazing stories, I mean, mentality is it. And yeah, amazing stories. And I've never been more convinced that mentality is the most important skill that an athlete can have. I mean, just look at all these amazing stories within the Olympics, whether it's someone overcoming or the favorite athlete winning. It's all about the mentality. And so many different walks of life that are coming together on these 2 weeks of the Olympics. So many great things for our youth athletes to learn from. And again, chaos can happen at any time. And you have to keep building your internal belief system. So for all of our athletes out there, make sure to first check out the Dialed and Driven Success Formula. It's all about building your belief system. Secondly, make sure you set your goals and stay dialed and driven on accomplishing your goals, as that's the only way to accomplish success.
And that concludes today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, please give us a like, leave us a review, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But most importantly, we would love for you to sign up to our free newsletter. Visit our website, Dialed and Driven Mentality. See you next week.
One of the best saves you will ever see, keeps this game alive.
Chris Palmer again, the Hockey Mentality Podcast.